Hi friends, welcome to the Very Occasional Podcast with Morgan Quaid, now with Go Faster stripes so it can really rip down the highway. This episode features writer, comic creator and founder of indie publisher ASAP Imagination, Paul Haydes Hayden. You can find Haydes online at asapimagination.com or by staring into the soulless eyes of an old goat while sitting cross-legged in a dark room. Before we get on to the show, don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast, because if I can get my channel to 500 subscribers, the old guy who looks at me funny when I put out the trash is going to lend me his favourite scarf. Welcome to the Very Occasional Podcast with Morgan Quaid. I'm joined today by Paul Hayden, Haydes himself, writer, comic creator, and founder of ASAP Imagination. Haydes, thank you for joining me, sir.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, man.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your creative journey and where it really started?
So, I mean, I've always been a comic book fan. I've always been a bona fide geek since 8, and I'm 42 this month.
You don't look a day over 40. So
thanks,
well
man. Thank you. It's the lighting, the less the better. But yeah, I've always been a geek. I've always been a fan of that, and I think growing up in the 80s as well, when things were fantastical in terms of cartoons and films, and Labyrinth poster over my shoulder right there.
I see.
So I always wanted to do something, and I wanted to be a writer. And the first thing that I wrote and had published was 11 years ago, and I wrote a book of poetry, but not as I call it, pretentious poetry. There was no those and thous and Midsummer's Days. There was none of that.
Right.
It was very Irish limericky kind of rhymey stuff. And the book was called My Little Book of Big Bugbears, Nursery Rhymes for Grumpy Grown-Ups. Because I just thought, thank you, because I just thought, I've got a whole cover. I'm a fill it with a title.
Why not?
And it was essentially, instead of having a contents page, I had the list, and it was about things that annoyed me, and they were my bugbears. Like in there was that I think goldfish is an incredibly pointless pet. That I struggle to find hats that fit me because I seem to have a pinhead.
Right. So 90s, some quite personal, some quite unique to
obviously.
You.
Exactly. But yeah, 90s boy band gestures, all those kind of things that make me go. So I did that, and I did some performance poetry while having that book. And then I did stand-up comedy for nearly 3 years as well.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was some time before writing comics, really, that I kind of dabbled in other things.
Right.
Yeah, it's good fun though.
It sounds like it. I've got to get myself a copy of that book because, maybe not the pinhead thing. I have more of the flat, weird, round head thing, but similar. Cool. Okay. So, one thing's intrigued me there. So the stand-up comedian stuff. So I'm guessing that was a really encouraging environment, and people just love to, say great things about you and lift you up. Was it a treat? Was it easy? Was it super easy?
It was such a treat. It was a joy. When, especially in British pubs, people are very giving with their opinions.
Right.
Yeah, you know what? It is a lot of fun, and it also it kind of bizarrely teaches you to toughen up as well, because you will get heckled, you will get people who will say stuff to you, but you can test your material. And I did it as part of this festival and fete that was on, and we did these workshops. We got to test our material on people.
Oh, cool.
And some people were really lovely about it, and then some people weren't so lovely. So you do kind of learn to get a thick skin. And then I made friends with some incredible comedians. And then it ended in a show where we performed in front of 400 people on this huge stage. And oh, my bladder. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. And then I got to gig for as I say, over 2.5, 3 years. And I think for me, the pinnacle was I did a charity event for there's a guy who he owned a golf course where I live, but it's KK Downing from Judas Priest.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. So I did this charity event, and I turn up, and it's black tie, and I was like really nervous. And he just kind of came out, and he just, one of the first things he said that just instantly settled me, instantly made me happy. He was like, just to let you know, free bar. We're going to be best friends.
Excellent.
Yeah.
This will go well. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was great, and I really enjoyed it. And again, I got to watch some people like become. I mean, one of them is now a touring comedian in the UK, and I'm just like, wow, man, it's awesome.
Well, that's a first, ladies and gentlemen. That's a first. We haven't had that one yet. So well done.
Thank you.
So the writing. So what was the? And I just realized something. I've known this before. You know how you can hear inflections in your own voice when you talk. When I say writing, everything else I say, I'll just flatten the words and not pronunciate properly and all that stuff. But when I say writing, I have a very strong T in the writing, and I've just realized that. I don't know why. I apologize to the world for saying a very fancy boy writing. Anyway, let's talk about writing. When you were first sort of starting out and thinking, you've obviously gone down the poetry / limerick sort of way of things. So comedy is obviously a strong part of what you're doing as well. When you first started thinking about comics or novels or any other sort of ideas, what was the style of stories that you wanted to tell?
I love an anti-hero. I love
right.
Again, I do love a sense of comedy in there. I love a mixture of dark and light, and I think a lot of that has become apparent in the characters that we've created through ASAP and some of the stories that we're going to tell. Young me was more of a fan of the very colourful, costumed heroes and very classic. And then as I got older, I got to appreciate my humor changed anyway. So my humor would get a bit darker. And as a fan of comics, there were things that, characters that were a bit darker. So a good mixture, really. When I write, I try and have just that hint of comedy. If you can find a funny moment in a dark situation, ace. That's my philosophy.
Yeah. No, it's a good way to do it. And it's the same as well. I'm the same. I love laughing. I love making people laugh. I love a good joke. But as soon as I sit down to write, I do not want to write comedy. I want to write, serious, intense, dramatic stuff, but with humor in it. Here and there. That's an odd thing that you would think we would both sit down and all right, let's get the gags out and start, a bit of waka waka and all that sort of stuff. But
yeah. Hi, I'm Haydes from ASAP Imagination. You're watching a very occasional podcast. Like and subscribe, or Haydes will come for you. When I did comedy, it was very therapeutic.
Right.
So you'd kind of go up there and you could take a situation that was like could be happening in your life, and go up on stage and make fun of it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, that situation isn't that bad actually. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I found my balance. That's what kind of, if you like, that's where you find your niche where you go dark and light. Okay, this is good.
Yeah, that's a really good perspective because I mean, obviously we come at it, depending on our circumstances and everything, but that's a really cool way that you've sort of gone through that journey. So tell us a little bit about ASAP Imagination. Where did that come from? What was maybe the first book that kind of you started in that?
So I had got an idea to do comics in 2019. I thought, I've got to a stage now where I really want to do it. I was working a day job. I was a go to work in a suit consultant type guy. Much better dressed than this. This was much tidier. But it was the 9 to 5. I've never quite gelled with it. We can all say we hate it because it's mundane, but I'd never quite gelled with it. I just thought I'd love to do this, and I was working with an artist called Kyle Wright on this title, which is called Messiah, which was our kind of flagship title for the comics. And I knew what I wanted to do, but I was trying to find an avenue to put it through. And I'd submitted it to a publisher, and they just never, ever responded. And I just thought, And then obviously the world went into what it went into in 2020. What
was that? Did something happen in 2020? Or
there was a milk shortage. We all had to switch to almond. No, we I can't stand almond milk. Obviously, we went into lockdown and loads of I like many people lost my job, and but it ended up being just the best blessing in disguise for me in a career sense. Because what happened was there was a kind of program at the time within the jobs center, section of the government, where if you wanted to try and start your own business, you could, and there was like a level of support that they would give you. And I just thought, I can't go anywhere. I can't get a job interviews. I'm stuck. Sod it. Let's try it. Let's see. Let's just see. So I'd come up with the idea. I'd come up with the concept. I'd started to put it together in my head, piece it together, and then I just applied for this program. Got accepted. I mean, they gave me, there was some strange conversations when you say to people, I want to start a business, and they assume you mean consultancy or painter and decorator or mobile hairdresser, and then they go, what do you want to do? And you go, I want to publish comics. It's a bit strange, but I did it, and they put me on this program. And then what happened was you kind of have to prove that you're doing what you say you're doing, which is obviously fair. So I was giving them my analytics from my website. But because it showed a good footfall, it showed that things were going well. So the next thing, I get a phone call, such a random phone call, from the work coach, who phones me up and just says, strange thing. I mean, that's kind of how he started the call. And you kind of go, hello.
That's always good. Yeah.
And I was a bit panicked, and I was like, yeah. And he said that the powers that be, kind of want to speak to me. And I was like, God, and I'm instantly there going, what have I done? And then long story short, what happened was I ended up getting called by the head office. Again, that was also, and what they actually wanted to do was interview me as a success story about the program.
You were the poster boy for the COVID sort of build up business, build better, build whatever. There was lots of that going on. I could see in the news. Build back better, whatever.
Build up business things. We're not slogan people. But and then I ended up, I had an interview with them, and then I had an interview with the newspaper the next day, and then 2 days later I got a phone call again from the head office, from the guy from the film and media department, And again, long story short, they made like a mini documentary about it. It was only tiny,
Oh,
you know.
wow.
But they paid one of the artists who was working for me at the time to draw this.
Fantastic.
The instruction was like, please make me look better than this. Add follicles.
I've done that. I've done that myself many times, as you can see. Yes.
So then, and then what happened was she drew all, you know, these. They interviewed me. We sent the audio to her. She drew me, sent it to them. They coloured it and animated it, and then put it out.
Wow, that is amazing.
It was surreal.
Wow,
it was really strange. And it just kind of went crazy. It was so weird, you know.
Yeah.
And then it just grew from there. I'd already met Laurie Cunningham, or L.A. Cunningham, who is a writer out of Canada and has become my most bestest friend. She's absolutely amazing. She really is. And I suggested to her she helped me write a book, which again it takes place in the same world as Messiah. So I wanted to do this world building thing.
Right.
So we wrote together. We wrote Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue, which is like a double book. I should have it to hand, but I'm never that prepared.
If you want, hold your hand up, and I'll put it in after in the edit. So just put your hand up like that.
I can grab it if you want, and you can.
If you want, how far away is it? It's not too far.
It's literally just there.
Oh, go get it. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay,
that's cool.
Oh, cool.
I can edit it. While he's doing.
Oh, that's cool.
Sorry, just throwing in some free advertising for my own stuff.
No, damn right as well.
Anytime there's a gap, that's what we do.
No, damn right. Looks cool as well. So she worked with me to write this book. So it's Points of Villainy.
Nice.
Points of Virtue.
Yeah, I like it.
So it was a double book, and it's like the catalyst for the world that we have. And it's this event that takes place over the course of basically just 2 days, and all hell kind of breaks loose in London, and within 2 days we're torn apart by this kind of weird supernatural event that happens, and then we're saved by these mysterious kind of entities. And we wrote it together, and it's 16 stories, and we wrote 8 each. And because we're just as mischievous as each other, we refuse to tell people which ones we wrote.
Right.
So people were like, "Did you write that one?" I'll never tell, that kind of thing. But
maybe, perhaps,
maybe. But basically, what happened was there was a story that she did write that I was like, "Oh, this is bloody brilliant!" Like this is like a main character, you know. And that character, we've had to admit that she wrote that one because she's now gone on. We've now turned that into a comic series.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But it started with this book, and we had a lot of fun writing it. It got us, as a publisher when we started, we literally launched with the book and with a comic. So it was great to go, here's prose and here's comic.
Yeah.
You know? And for us, it was great. And you know, she's not a comic book fan. She is now, but she wasn't there.
Yeah.
I very lovingly corrupted her. I regret nothing. But yeah, I think it was a good way to start for us. It was a good way to launch off for us, because it just had us just that little bit different, because it was a comic and a book. So we launched with that, and our main continuity, and now we've gone from the one title of Messiah, and we now have so Messiah, OPSEC, Dead of Night, Sister Grimm, Whole, and then we've actually turned Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue into 2 comic trilogies starting in October with Points of Villainy Part 1.
Right.
And it's 12 of the 16 stories turned into comic book form.
Great.
So
that's a nice tie in there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's because obviously, it's great to have the book, but also if you're going to a comic book shop, some people don't like prose. They don't want to read prose. So the best thing to do for us was to turn it into comics as well. So that the first part, it launches in October. We did a comic reveal on we did our own online con in August.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was to celebrate 2 years, and we just thought let's have some fun at the same time. So we did an online con, but we did the cover reveal for it at the con, and yeah, we were really happy with it. So we've got that, and then we've got plans for much more in 2023. So, like, in a babbling nutshell, that's our main continuity. But I really love it. Like, I get to work with great people. We've got this great world building thing that we're doing at the moment. And we're looking at different mediums for it for next year as well. We want to, we are looking to try and get it onto a screen as well.
That was going to be my next question. Yeah.
Yeah.
When's it going to short film or, something like that, or animation?
To be fair, both is what I'm looking at. Because I want it to be as interactive as possible as well. So for example, again, we also have a character that's online. So he's based in the same world, but you only hear his voice. So he's called the Conjector, and he's like our conspiracy theorist. He's like our the Question from DC. He's our that. And he does almost podcasts, if you like, but he does again, it's on our YouTube channel, but if you go, you can see he will only ever be a character on our YouTube channel.
That is very cool. Is he handsome? Does he have a flat cap? Or is he? No, he's different. He's someone different. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine there's probably a flat cap involved because they're very cool. But no, he is very unseen. He is simply a voice.
I love that so much.
I wanted to do something like that because again, it's that interactive thing, and if you can bring the stories to people in different mediums, you can get fans from people that wouldn't have been fans.
That's spot on.
Are you searching for the perfect voiceover artist for your next project? Well, look no further. For an excessively reasonable price, Morgan Quaid will provide professional voiceover services to meet your needs. Want an American voiceover with fire in the belly? Well, check this out. G'day, man. I love these American hot dogs. They're ace. Looking for a distinguished British accent? Well, look no further. I greatly enjoy these scones at Crumpets. Also, I'm quite fond of tea. Or perhaps you're looking for a character actor to voice the strong female lead in your next upcoming feature. Hi, I'm a lady person. Now put down that sword, or I'll give you what for. Whatever your need, whatever your budget, there's no job too small or lucrative for Morgan Quaid, voiceover expert and creative genius.
It's like with the book, it's like we had people who said, I won't buy the comics, but I'll buy the book. And it was like, that's fine. But then I had a message from a buddy of mine, so he was like, I'll buy the book, I'm not buying the comics. I'm not a comic book fan, I'm not a nerd, I'm not one of you people. I was not insulted. We're great people.
We are. I've met us. We're really cool.
I live with us. But he bought the book, and he said, I remember him telling me two things. One, it made him look crazy when he was on the train to work because half the book's upside down when he's reading.
Yeah.
And two,
that is so cool. That's something you probably didn't intend, but that's amazing to think that anyone reading it is going to look like a loon to half of the people watching. That's great.
Yeah, I love that though. And then so the other thing was that he was like, also, you swine, I'm invested now, I will be buying the comic.
Yeah, there you go.
And and he did, and it was great because we would get people who would just wanted to read a novel or an anthology, and then it worked, So we're building that world up, and just enjoying it. It's great.
Yeah. So how do you go in terms of distribution, getting the word out there? I mean, you were talking about online sort of con. You've obviously got a website that gets a lot of traffic and that sort of stuff. Do you run Kickstarters as well, or how do you approach the sort of getting it out there? How is it distributed, I suppose, is the question.
So we do the distribution ourselves. We do the digital ourselves as well. So with regard to distribution, as I mentioned, I'm from an Irish family, which also gives me that sense of I'm cheeky, so I'll ask. So I will contact comic book shops. I did this thing called the Nomad Tour, where I basically packed a load of the comics and books into a rucksack and jumped on a train. And I was like, right, fine, and I kind of like littlest hobo, but the geekiest hobo. But what I did was I was like, if I go through here and up back into London and that way, I can visit all these comic book shops. So I did, and I jumped, like I say, jumped to the train, went to comic book shops, took some pictures while I was there, and basically walked in and went, "Hi, this is us. This is the product." And then actually got some good relationships off the back of it. We're in, shops off the back of it.
That's great.
And then we've done cons as well, like, physical cons. I was at one in May, and then Laurie Cunningham, who I mentioned, has just done one this week. She was at Edmonton Expo in Canada for 3 days. So she's just done that. And again, because we're kind of dotted around the place, because we've got writers who are in the US as well, and artists in like Argentina and so on and so forth, we can kind of cover the cons there. So it's just like, so I've done ones in the UK. She's done one in Canada, and then we can cover like US and Argentina and stuff like that. So I mean, it's one of those. It's like you've got to be cheeky enough to put yourself out there, and some people will ignore you, and some people will, indie's not for everyone, and that's fine. That's fair enough.
That's what tissues are for,
Exactly.
Go home, have a cry, and then you get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a sleeve. It's fine. I'm on the move. Let's go.
There's no time for tissues, people.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a nerdy hobo. I've got jobs to do.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a sleeve, and it's fine. But no, it was. But yeah, I think it's one of those. You've got to be prepared to be cheeky. You've got to be prepared to put yourself out there. But again, it's like also have that sense of fun, like because I say, and it's not to do with the Haydes thing. Like I've said it for ages, but it's now becoming like a kind of catchphrase. But I always like, "How the devil are you?" like that. So when I was putting an email together, to kind of send out to shops and stuff, because what we have is known as our LCS pack. So it's the local comic book shop pack. So in there you get a free copy of one of our comics, and then some samples from our Anyone World stuff as well. But I literally start the email with, "Hi, my name is." How the devil are you? And then I'm, I just go straight into just talking. But it's like, if it's the difference between a hard sell and going, "I'm a real human," like it's
a bit more relatable, bit more, and immediately the tone is set that this is going to be fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's it. And the thing is as well, like within that email as well, like ASAP Imagination, as is here on my name here, is in caps. That kind of was always kind of just happened. Like the first time I wrote it was in, but in the email, because it's in caps, then I just put in brackets, yes, caps for dramatic effect. Because I don't mean to shout it at you, but why not?
Yeah.
So, but I
Yeah.
think, you've got to put it out there, and I think handling our distribution ourselves and everything ourselves puts it all under one roof, and we can just crack on.
Yeah. It's inspiring, dude. It's inspiring.
Thank you very much.
It's really, really cool. Because I know there's a ton of creators out there. We're all hustling and struggling and trying to. So it's really cool to hear a success story, and it's really cool.
Thanks,
so,
man.
On the flip side of success, can you tell us about failure that you've endured that has really helped, or that you've learnt from, or something that you're willing to share?
The first ever Kickstarter I ran, which was in 2019, I think, or mid 2019, when I wanted to first give this a shot. Failed so miserably. I can honestly say that by the time it got to the end, I had more funds in my back pocket that was on the screen. It was epically bad. And it made me go, I really need to rethink what the hell I'm doing, because and I didn't think it through, and I think since then, and I've had this conversation with people, don't jump straight into it. It's exciting, but that I think there's a fine line between planning and over planning and never doing. And then just doing without planning. It's like you've got to meet yourself in the middle and find a bit of balance and say, okay, I need to get this done, but I need to plan a little bit. People don't know who you are, and then if there's a difference between buy my book, it's great, here it is, and I've got an idea, who's with me?
Follow me, people. Follow me. Throw your money at me.
It's like what's that for? Old School with Will Ferrell. We're streaking. No one's with you. No one's with you. It's that.
It's that kind of thing. Yeah.
So, but it was epic. It was an epic fail on my part.
And we've all been there. So technically, I've never had a failure on paper with Kickstarter, but in terms of what did you actually make out of this? Yes, my first few campaigns were dismal failures, and I did not think it through. And anyway, we won't get into that. The lesson I learned is exactly what you said. How about you talk to people, dude? Talk to people that have done this before. They're happy to chat and say, hey, friend, how did you do this? Instead of just going and think, I'll be fine. I'll muddle my way through. Yeah. Very good advice. Very, very good advice. Is there an idea that is either too emotionally intense or too out there that you've kind of got on the boiler somewhere, but you're not ready for it yet? Something that you're willing to share that you think, I would love to do this, but I won't because of some reason or other.
Well, I think this is a good time for like our other platform for the Any1 world. So because I've had that conversation with people a lot, because our Any1 world platform is where we publish for other people. You see,
right? Okay.
So, and I have people who come with all manner of things. So we launched that with again a prose anthology, but this was completely like done for charity. The whole thing was done for charity.
Right.
And it was it's called Perspectives, and it was one of those books where we put the call out there, and we got we were very lucky. We had like 16 people in the book in the end, and it was like we were very vague we were like, sci-fi, horror-ish, it's all good. And we were raising money for something called the Dyspraxia Foundation. And dyspraxia is a condition that my son actually has, so it was kind of near and dear. So we're raising money for this charity. But then like loads of people were like, here's my idea, and you go, ooh.
Yeah.
I should have been a bit stricter on the this is what we're after.
How many breasts does she have? Okay, that's 5. You
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
Why are they up front in here? Yeah.
So, but the good thing was as well is we got a good editor on board. And again, I can't stress enough, but also it was like all the writers did it for free. The editor did it for free. The designer for the cover and everything did it for free. But yeah, you do find yourself kind of going, oh, okay. And then now we have submissions, so we publish various kind of creators, which I will be, with your permission, sir, I will be putting your way for you to speak to as well, if that's cool.
Go for it. I'm charging $700 an appearance as of now, but that's fine. But you get in scot-free because you're the first one.
Yeah,
no,
fine.
by all means, yeah.
I'll invoice them after. It'll be fine. But yeah, and so we ended up doing the first book was like it's called Bob Non-Union Psychic, and
I love that title so much.
Yeah, but it's a graphic novel, so the full title is Bob Non-Union Psychic: The Big Book of Bob Volume 1.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a great title, but again, it's like it's quite dark, and then we dog eaters from Malcolm Wong in Tokyo. So again, you're looking at all these different genres. And then you do have to go, where's my line?
Yeah. What tone? What's too far? Way? Yeah. What's a bit too extreme? Yeah.
So we've had some submissions that have probably just skimmed under the radar. We've got some horror in there, but there've been some things that I've kind of gone, if it's 50 Shades of Greyish,
not so much. Not so much.
Yeah.
A little bit of casual, intimate torture.
No,
not so much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but again, we have to find that line, and we have to set the tone, and so on and so forth, because there's every story is obviously going to be personal to the person creating it. But I think as well is when you've got a platform where you're putting out multi-genres for creators, you've also got to be careful that one person's statement, story, character isn't going to affect or tread on everything else that's kind of there as well. So it's trying to find that balance where you could say to someone, your story's great. However, it's within the narrative of everything.
And
it's
not a good fit. Yeah,
exactly.
Which is something that's something as a writer you get used to all the time, where the feedback you get sometimes is, it sounds great, but we can't publish it because it's too similar to something else we have. It'll damage sales there and everything, which is great. So what was the first thing you said? You said it was good though, right? You said it was good.
Yeah.
You just take that bit away.
Yeah, it's like you have to compliment sandwich it. I think you have to say it's great. Unfortunately,
but it's great.
Yeah, and what a dashing hat you're wearing, and then move on.
You walk away, you go and talk to your wife. So how did it go? He said my hat was really good. he really liked the hat.
Yeah,
the hat was a great choice. Yeah.
And I've never taken it off since.
That's right. Not in bed, not for showers, not for no one.
Yeah, this is the hat. But no, I think it was it's like we have to be careful, and but it's like respectful of everyone's story, and I think it puts us in good stead to have that kind of platform, because we understand as creators how personal a story is and how much it means. So by telling people the truth and saying this isn't the place, I wish I could help, but this isn't the place, then you're not letting them down, you're allowing them to find the right place for them.
And long term it's going to be worse for them if you tried to sort of smush it in, and
exactly,
and that's not fair to other creators that you've already got. And
exactly. But the Anyone World's a lot of fun, and we some brilliant people, and from all different levels as well, which I love. We've got like 3 people that we actually published their debut comic.
Right.
And then you've got like Lance Lucara, who wrote Bob, and Malcolm Wong, who did Dog Eaters, who are kind of more seasoned. They've been doing this a while, so it's great to have that mixture of people in there.
All right, So, speaking of getting pitches thrown at you, we're going to move to our next segment, which is called The Worst Pitch.
You lead, I'll follow, sir.
Very good. I have not thought this one through at all. I thought you were going to go first. All right. So I'm going to reach down into the brain palace and try and find an idea that I think is suitably crappy. It's about a mascot who, obviously, like a baseball or football or whatever, wears the whole big thing, the hat and all that sort of stuff. The more he wears the bear suit, the more he starts to feel less like himself and more like the bear until he doesn't want to take it off anymore. And eventually he becomes the mascot. He becomes Big Bob the Burly Bear or whatever it is. And there's interventions. They're trying to get him out of the suit, and he won't take it off. And then eventually they have to intervene. They knock him out. They take the suit off. There's nothing there. Wow. He's gone. He became the bear suit. That was a long walk.
I actually quite like that. That's like an episode of Erie, Indiana. That's what that is.
Yeah, and it started with a mascot, people.
That's got goosebumps written all over it, man.
I'm just going to write some notes. So, bear, the burly, lots of bees.
You're not. I'm not. You're the only one writing notes. I'm like, So
I see a comic in another 2 years. I see a comic coming out from ASCP. Imagine that looks vaguely familiar. Anyway,
yeah. It's just called Mascot. Instantly, my brain just went, oh, imagine a story that never ends. No, that's been done, but it does end. No, that's also been done.
That's right out of the same sort of labyrinth kind of era as well. Perfect.
I've got to get out of the 80s. It's about a writer.
Very good, yes.
Who joins a writing group that is full of very pretentious people who judge him.
Right.
So he starts to write about them as characters, and the stories that he creates become the things that happen to them.
Dude, this is not a bad pitch. This is a great pitch. Even as you're talking, I'm thinking, oh, he could kill them off one by one in his stories as revenge for them being snooty to him.
And they have to read it at the group.
Oh, that is so good.
That's my pitch.
So good. Oh, wow. Oh, I'm making a judgment. The mascots wins for the worst pitch on this occasion, because that is a genius pitch. That's a really good idea. That's just great. I love it. There's so many layers that you could do that, and you could just tease out just the, kind of passive aggressive, fight going on in that room and developing, and then all of a sudden one of them just doesn't turn up one day. Yeah. And then you slowly find out what happened to him. No, he disappeared he fell down a grate and was minced by a machine of some sort. That is fantastic, sir. Well done.
Thank you very much.
That is great. That has me thinking of, God, another book I need to write. No, I'm not even going to write it down, because then I'll lose myself in the idea. Anyway, all right. So now we're moving to the rapid fire question section or segment. So question number 1, you have one choice and you have to choose Star Wars, Star Trek.
Star Wars.
Star Wars. Now, what I like there, because I'm finding like 90% of people go the Star Wars, which it's okay to be wrong, but what I like there is that there was hesitation, there was thought, there was comparison going on, which I'm pleased with that. That means there's enough there's enough both ways to think, well, it's not just a simple. So good. All right. So Star Wars, the near future. Sorry, not the near future, the far future. Miles so far ahead, we can barely imagine the world. Let's say 2025. There's a law that there's a law that comes out that says everyone has to have one tattoo and one tattoo alone. All other ink is purged from the human skin. What is the tattoo that you get, and whereabouts on your body does it sit? And it's unique to you, obviously.
I would have the Gallifreyan symbols for offspring, because my children are just the greatest, and also so is Doctor Who.
Wow, that is really cool. And those symbols exist? Sure.
I think so, because I am actually a very tattooed person. But my eldest daughter, who's 23 now and become also quite tattooed, has stated, because we wanted to get, like, she was like, oh, we should get matching tattoos, or but I was like, what would you want to get? She's a huge Doctor Who fan, and we've actually found Alonzi in Gallifreyan in the
wow.
So we were like, yeah, we should totally get that, actually. So
that's pretty cool. Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'd get.
There we go. Good choice, sir. Living up to the nerd expectations there. Very good. All right, which one of your heroes would you most hate to meet in person, or fear to meet in person?
As in fictional heroes, or like creative heroes?
Probably creative, but you could do either. I mean, Sauron's probably not someone you're going to want to sit down and have a cup of tea with, but
that's fair. Yeah. And this skin,
one lump or two.
Yeah.
Not good.
The sunburn I'd get. I mean, come on. Yeah. Though I'd love to, I fear that it would be a bit weird sat in a pub with Alan Moore. I'd love to meet him, but I think I'm probably too jovial and irritating for him.
Yes, you fear the response that you would get, the look that you would probably get from that rather tall bearded gentleman.
Yes.
There we go. That's a great choice. Again, another great nerdy choice. All right. What's the hardest fictional death you've had to deal with, either in film or books or anything like
that? John Coffey in The Green Mile. That scarred me emotionally.
Yeah, that's a hard one. Yeah.
That hurt. That genuinely hurt. I think that's a beautiful film, and coupled with the score, I'm a big softie when it comes to like film scores. Coupled with the score, that hit me in all of the feels. Every feels that just
every one of the feelings. The 5 feelings that we all have, they all got hit at once.
All of those.
Wow.
Yeah.
There we go. That's another good choice. I like these as well because I get the references. There's nothing worse than when people are rattling off things that I have and I have to do the whole yes. I will look that up later. All right, so you're allowed to pass on one toy from your childhood to your children and future generations. What is that toy?
It would be the G.I. Joe vehicle Mean Dog. Because one, it's awesome. I love G.I. Joe. It's sturdy, so my heavy-handed son possibly won't break it. But it also splits into 3, so it means that people can share.
Oh, well, there you go. A nice positive message for a toy that is essentially about war and death and fighting and all of that sort of stuff. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, now we know, and the more you know, is that what he used to? What was the thing he used to say? That something is half the battle. Knowing is half the battle. I don't know. That's probably someone else. Anyway, all right. You have to invent a new color. What is it and why?
It's a different tone of yellow called Lego. Because when my son was little, he couldn't pronounce the word yellow and used to say Lego.
Right.
So then I got a yellow Lego brick and asked him what this was, and he went, Lego.
That's fantastic.
So I
It's
would create.
Lego.
This is Lego. So yes, I would create Lego as a color.
That's great. That's fantastic. All right. So now we are genuinely into the future. For some reason or another, a new servant class is instilled in planet Earth to aid humanity. We live lives of luxury. They cook for us, clean for us, all that sort of stuff. But you are the decider. You have the choice between whether it is self-aware robots that are looking after us, or whether it is shackled, controlled, whatever, demons. You are the decider.
Well, speaking for my people as Haydes, I'm going to have to not shackle my demon folk. So it's going to have to be the robots.
The robots win. There we go.
Yeah.
The robots. All right. Well, good choice. Good choice. Good answers. That concludes the rapid fire, whatever it is, segment. Well, Haydes, thank you very much for joining us on the Very Occasional Podcast. It's been a pleasure talking to you and going through your sort of creative journey, and so positive to hear about ASAP. I was going to say ASAP, ASAP Imagination, and everything that you're doing. So thank you very much for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Sweet! I've never done that before in my life. I don't know what... So, whoops, he just dropped out. Well, it's just me. So in that it's just me for a while. Folks, you could get yourself a copy of Enmity. You could grab yourself a copy of The Seven Hungers.
Note to self, don't press the wrong thing.
It could be about a guy with crazy hair that kind of steals a baby, and there's some sort of labyrinth that someone has to come through. Just off the top of my head, it could be...
Just thinking, just to myself.
Could be anything like that.
From nowhere.
Testing, 1, 2. Yes, that's all right. Okay. Speaking of which, we're going to do a little impromptu segment now called Morgan Raises His Head to the Right Level so that we're... award-winning ideas like the mascot idea. It's, it's quite tricky.
No, it's not going to be stolen.
Yeah.